Hello. This is my response video to Vince Venturella. Do I pronounce that correctly? What is wargaming to you? Now, first of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to say, Vince, your topics of the week are fantastic. The main reason is that quite often you'll pose a question and you'll think, well, that's a daft question. What's this? But then you think about it and you go, actually, no, that's a really, really good question. What is wargaming to me? Well, I could say it's a game involving wars, in the same way that Trivial Pursuit is a board game where you ask questions. But no, it's actually a hell of a lot more in depth than that. Now, I know this isn't my the first response video, and I actually feel quite terrible. I don't want to mention names. But they're one of the response videos. They go on about they've got a medical condition and it's helped their medical condition. And I find myself in a very similar situation. However, when I look at my problems in life, they're really not as bad as other people's. So I do feel a little bit uneasy. But what is wargaming to me? Well, first of all, I only play Age of Sigmar, so all of my responses are related directly to Age of Sigmar. The reason I only play Age of Sigmar is, I've mentioned it before in other videos, I work as a live-in carer. And what that basically means is I will go to someone's house and I'll be there for 1, 2, 4 weeks, longer sometimes. And then obviously I'm then off to somebody else. Now, a lot of you guys, you've got these lovely setups in the bedrooms, or you've got your own sheds in the garden, and you have your own little man cave. Obviously, I don't get that luxury. It is quite literally, I actually own the Citadel Project box. I've got paints. I've got my figures in my Crusader box. I've got a big tool case on wheels, and it is. And I've got a box where I put works in progress in, and I am quite literally in the situation of, first of all, if I can't take it with me, I can't have it, and secondly, my workspace is whatever I get given. My workspace as we speak is a chest of drawers and a little bedside table, so I've got everything laid out. And just to show you what it's like for me this week, this is my little, this is the top of the project box with everything I'm working on. It's absolute chaos, but it's actually the best way I can work. So if I played other games, then obviously that means that I've got more figures to collect, more figures to paint, some big ones, some small ones. So I really need to limit it down. However, it does fit very well into my the way that I work. So my job, it's obviously I use whatever I can when you know. Now the answers that I'm going to, or the response I'm going to give to this, I'd love to say that wargaming has been this fantastic thing that saved my life. I for many years suffered a quite bad depression. And the way I've overcome that mainly is I'm more of a helper than anything else. I like to provide a service to people that has practical use, and I like to apply that to everything. For example, being a carer, obviously I help with people's day-to-day needs, but I also have this urge to become a trainer, so that I can help other carers into the job, help them do a job that they love. And the same is true with wargaming. Because I travel a lot, I meet different people. Every couple of weeks I'm meeting someone for the first time, and I tend to find, I don't know if it's just by coincidence the people I meet into, or the community in general, but everybody is head over heels, falling over themselves to help you. 6 months ago I couldn't even paint layers, and I had 3 or 4 customers in the shop all saying, "Oh, let me help you, let me help you." Obviously I've now advanced a little bit more since then, and I'm between YouTube and people I meet, I can just go up to someone and say, "Oh, I need help with this," and they'll just drop everything and just help. And that, to me, I think that does sum up the war games community. The main thing I also find is that there is no judgment within the war game society. I've a very good example is that I made a previous video about is Age of Sigmar a game for kids, and I mentioned some kid must have been about 8 years old, and he'd put this spider together. I think it was something to do with the old orcs and goblins, um, and he'd done it really badly, but it just didn't matter because he was having such fun. Now, obviously, most of the people who are watching this video will go, "Oh, that's terrible, that's terrible." But you got to remember that you're at your level and he's at his level. I've played games against people who we all play games against people who field the grey units. I've primed it, but I've not had time to paint it. That's quite normal. But quite often we'll play against people who have they've got all the base coats down, but there's no layering, there's no shading, and they call that a finished model. And we'll go up to them and we'll say, "That's a really cool model. You've done that well. You've painted it well, a good quality." Maybe we'll offer an extra tip to improve their level, but their standard of painting is where it is, and we're happy for them, and they're happy. I like to take mine to as well. Mine's not fantastic. I don't know if the lighting's really bad, but this is my Deathbringer. You can't really see it, but the skin, I've called that finished. I've done it on the 3-stage layering, and people will accept me for that, and that's my level. And then you've got people who paint it Golden Demon standard, just as standard, and that's great, and that's the level they're at. So that's the first thing of what wargaming is to me. It's a community where we judge each other on our own abilities. I think what summed it up really well, I'm going to give a big mention to Games Workshop in King's Lynn in Norfolk. I took a rat ogre in once, and I said to him, "What do you think?" And he says, "Yeah, that's really, really good. You've done really well on that." And then I knew I wasn't anywhere near the best painter in the shop, and I took something else in a couple of weeks later, and he said, "Yeah, that's okay." So I'm really happy with it. And he says, "Yeah, but I'm judging you on your standard, and compared to your standard, it's an improvement. You'd brought something in last week that I didn't feel reached your standard." Obviously, I'm the kind of person who I want people to be honest. So I could produce something absolutely fantastic, but if it's not up to my standard, I want you to say it's not as good. So that's the community, which is brilliant. And I'm actually, even though I'm quite low down on the level of standard, I have something I can give back. Again, it ties in with my teaching. I can train people to my level. So if someone only does base coats, I could teach them to layer paint. What I can't teach them is, for example, non-metallic metals. I can't teach them light sources. I can do light sources, but not well enough to teach. So, and obviously I've been painting less than a year, so I've got a lot to learn. So I'm not saying that I won't ever reach certain standards. Now, As for the actual game element of it, it's not something I take part in. The main reason for this is obviously the job I do. I live in other people's homes. My job is to be there on standby. I get 2 hours off a day, and I'm in a strange town, and it's often hard to get games, which actually isn't a major problem for me. I've played a couple of games of Age of Sigmar, and I do like it. I suspect I'm like 99% of the population where I enjoy the game, but there's certain elements I'm not quite happy with. But isn't that every game in the world? I don't know. So I'm more of a painter, and it obviously I can sit down and I can be having a really bad day, and then I can just get on with something, and suddenly the bad day doesn't matter anymore, and then I'll go to bed at the end of the day, and tomorrow's another day. That's what I like about it. And also, I like to do conversions or kit bashes. I like the way that Citadel or Games Workshop, they bring out models, and they're just basic models. Some of them, there we go, there's one of my Blood Reavers. Obviously I can paint him, I can put him on the table. But obviously if I wanted to field 2 of those, they only make the one model. So I've got to do something to him to make him unique. So by taking the base model and then taking it from there, I can do that. This is, bear with me, most of you would recognise her as Valkyrie the Bloody, but with an axe, because I want 2 slaughter priests. So there is my second slaughter priest, and that's what I like about it. The fact that you can take a base model. This one I'm doing, forgive me if my pronunciation is wrong, this is a female succubus. Now she's supposed to have wings, she's supposed to have 2 swords, and she's attached to a rock. Let me find, and this is a chimera. This is a Reaver model, but I found it's a little bit too small. So don't attach the wings, cut off one of the swords, attach a chain to it. You can't really see, but there I've drilled a hole through there. I've cut the wings off this chappy. Obviously he's black, so you're not going to see much detail. The next stage is to put these onto a stand, attach the chain, and then you've got yourself a mighty Lord of Khorne, completely unique. It's not going to be painted to a Golden Demon standard, but the total effect that I'm after by the time I've based it is if I put it on the table or on the board, my opponent will go, great idea, I really like that, success. So that's what it is to me. It's a simple game where just playing isn't the only part of it. Actually creating something, creating 2 non-unique figures, sorry, getting 2 non-unique figures and making 1 unique figure. That to me is wargaming. Excuse me, sorry, thirsty work making videos. So yeah, that's my response to Vince Venturella. Keep up the good work. I absolutely love your videos, and I love your topics of the week. I don't always respond to them. Sometimes I don't feel as qualified to respond to them. For example, you had one on 3D printing. I'm really not sure where I stand on the 3D printing. I suppose my viewpoint is if you are clever enough to make a sculpt and then you scan it and then you produce it with a 3D printer, then absolutely fine. The only fear I have with 3D printing is that people would use it to infringe copyrights. I don't know. Ignore what I've just said there. Like I said, I don't feel that qualified. But as for this topic, that's my response. The person I mentioned who I feel bad about, I don't feel bad about you, but I feel bad about coming on saying, oh, it's helping my depression. Obviously, you're going to know who you are. People who watch will know who I'm talking about. Yeah, brilliant. I think that sums up wargaming. People can use this as a release. Another hobby I have, I don't do it so much, is horse riding, and I used to book in one hour's horse riding a week. And just like wargaming, it would just completely clear my mind of all issues just for that 1 hour a week. And obviously, I don't get time to paint every day. The last job that I did, I didn't paint for a week and a half because I just didn't get time to. When you have someone who's not very well and they demand a lot of your attention, obviously that your work is more important than your hobby. Currently, I'm painting for about an hour and a half to 2 hours a day, so that's fine. Anyway, I'm now starting to waffle on, so with that, I will bid you a good Sunday. I hope you're not too sick from all the candy from Halloween last night. Take care, guys.